This is Graham from Doteasy Customer Care, coming to you with another video here. We showed you before how to set up the surface for email, the unboxing of the surface itself, and how to work a little bit with templates in a website through HTML. So what we're going to be touching base on today is going to be WordPress, another widely used one for people who are trying to set up sites, and is a little more advanced than someone who's trying to set up a default site in just HTML. So you may find a little more use out of it than others. And one thing that's a big advantage to WordPress is it is a CMS, which stands for Content Management System, meaning that it will help you set up your site, manage it through a graphic interface. So a nice, easy icons, everything to click on. Adding new posts or new content is going to work similar to a Word document in Word itself. So something you're very familiar, something very easy to set up. So that's really what we're going to be focusing on today, how to show you how to set up a business site specifically. Although you can really set up for anything you want, photography or a personal site, maybe even a blog, which is what WordPress was originally designed for, even though we're going to be using it for a website. But we're mainly aiming today to set this up for a quick, easy to use website, so that you can have something up that looks fairly professional without a lot of time involvement. Now you are going to want to play with it, of course, a little more than we're going to show you with today. We're going to show you how to quickly get that site up, get some basic information up there, get the layout all taken care of. So something that looks really nice, but of course the main meat of it, so the actual content like pages, pictures, things like that, you're going to need to spend additional time to set that up, of course, but we're going to show you how to take care of all of that today. And that's really what we're going to be covering. So a lot of people ask us whenever kind of WordPress or any other page comes into play is where to start. And it's always a complicated question, because although some people may say there's no real wrong place to start, that's not exactly true. Is if you start in certain places, you're going to make it really hard for yourself down the line. So one of the first things to start with, of course, is to find WordPress and get it installed. In this case, we're going to use Softaculous, one of the things offered by Doteasy on our paid services, which comes with the script installer. Is going to easily install it for us, so we're just going to quickly go through that. Now within WordPress, you can just go into Softaculous. It's actually from the main page, like we clicked on. You just go to install there. Now when you choose a domain, if you're using this under your main domain, don't even need to worry about this. If you've got multiple domains, so say like add-on domains, you want to make sure you set this up properly. If you're setting this up under a subdomain, again, you want to make sure you select the proper one. So do pay attention to that if you are setting up multiple ones. And the in directory, you can set this up as whatever you want. We're actually going to leave this blank, so it comes right from the root. So in this case, we're using sampledomain.net. So if we go to sampledomain.net, it'll show up there. If you put this under a different folder, such as like WordPress or maybe business or something like that, it's going to show up under there. So you do want to keep that in mind if you do want to maybe set up multiple versions of WordPress to do different things, or if you don't like it being in the actual main directory. In this case, we're going to leave it blank because we want it to be in the main directory. For the database name, you can really call this whatever you want. You're not going to worry too much about this. If you're planning to add a lot of advanced scripts to it, you definitely want to take note of it, as you may need to add it into those scripts later on. But for the most part, those of you who are just using WordPress, just something simple, you don't really need to worry about it that much. And you can always check back here for it. And if you contact us, we can help you find the information. It's not that hard. So in this case here, we're just going to call it WP root, so WordPress root. You want to try and keep your naming convention simple so it's easy to understand. Now for this here, the next one down is table prefix. You don't even need to worry about this. This is more just a database thing. If you're really hardcore into databases or you understand how they work, you may want to choose this one. It's a little easier off. Now next one here is site name. This you can call whatever. We're actually just going to call this Doteasy Business Website, and as you can see, it auto-populated here for us. And the site description, we can call this whatever we want. So we're just going to call this Doteasy Demo because it is a demo of what we're doing. You can always edit this again later in WordPress itself, so you don't need to worry about this if it's not showing up. For the admin account, you can always set up whatever you want. The default username is admin, but you're more than welcome to set up anything you want. Do take notice and do write it down, because although you can change it later and you can get it sent to the administrative email account, you kind of have to go into the database and play with it a bit if you want to reset it. So it's not something that's that simple to do. So you want to try and avoid it if possible. But I mean, if you do lose it, we of course can help you reset it. So in this case here, we're going to just set it to admin. We're going to set it to something simple like .easy123, as you can see. You do want to try and keep a uppercase, lowercase letter combination with some numbers in there just to keep it simple. Try and stay away from anything regarding the actual domain name itself, as that's going to kind of give it away or be a little more easier to guess. You want to try and keep it secure. And unfortunately, within the WordPress installation, it's actually going to have it in plain text, so in other words, you can see it. but that's more just to make sure you write it down, there's no problems with it. For the email address, you can set this to whatever you want. This is where it's going to try and send notifications, or if there's any password resets necessary, that's exactly where it's going to go. Now for this here, you can select the language last of all. We're just going to set English, but you can really set to anything you want if you're going with another language. And the last thing here, if you're one of those people that likes to write things down or just easily forget something, then in the bottom here where it says email installation details to, you want to make sure to include your email address so that you actually do have a written copy of it. Again, you can always log in here later on and do it, so it's not a problem. Once you've got everything in there, just do a quick double take on it, make sure everything's set up the way you want, and once you're ready, you want to go ahead and click install. And the soft access installs it pretty quick. It's not even a minute, and it's already done in this case. Now it's going to give you two different site links, which is really important to take note of. The first one is just your website again, and this is where it actually installed it to. So you can take a look at just the default WordPress install if you've never seen WordPress, just to see kind of an idea of what the basic theme it's got set up and what it looks like. But the second one, the administrative URL, is the really important one, because this is where you're going to be logging into your WordPress dashboard, which is where you're actually going to be going in to make all of the changes for your site. So it is very, very important that you remember that site. You may even want to bookmark it. It is important because that's how you're going to be getting in and out of WordPress. So we're actually going to start off right away by just clicking on that. So it brings up our actual WordPress dashboard. And as you can see here, it says WordPress. It's asking for username and password. So we're going to type in the ones we created here. And you can tell it to remember to log in if you want. It's up to you. We're just going to log in normally because we don't really need to. We set it to an easy password, so we're going to remember it. But again, you want to set it to something fairly complicated so it doesn't have any problems. And now just while we're waiting for that to go in here, you can see it's actually come up to the dashboard. Now this is where you're going to be doing most of the changes within WordPress. So do take a little bit of time to familiarize yourself with this. If you need to pause the video for a minute or two, just go for it. You want to make sure you're a little familiar with all the different sections to it, maybe play around with it a bit. You can find lots of details online, so if you want to find out what you're really working with before going further, not a bad idea to do, just so you're comfortable working with it. WordPress itself is fairly simple once you've gotten a handle on it. It may be a little overwhelming at first just because there is a lot of options everywhere, and if you're not sure where to start. Now a lot of people at this point say, okay, I've got WordPress installed, where do I go from here? Now some people may like to dive in right away and start creating pages, posts, and content. Not a bad idea if you like doing it that way, but you're probably going to cause yourself a little bit of trouble later on, because when you go to set out the themes and the content, the layout, you're going to find that all your pages and posts may not look the best afterwards because what you set up already may conflict with what you set up. So we'd actually suggest to start with the theme just because it's very quick, it's very easy to do, and it's something that will set out the layout so you have something visually to see. Now whenever you're setting up any kind of a website, generally there's a couple checklists you want to do. The first one is generally, okay, what kind of a site am I setting up? In this case we're going, okay, business. So it is very important to make sure to cover that and keep that in mind when you're looking for themes, templates, what kind of content you're going to be adding. You need to keep in mind that it is business, so you want it to look business oriented. So you're not going to, of course, put a bunch of clowns on your site unless it's directly relating to your business, or maybe something to do with like gaming or just a neat picture you found. You want to try and keep it professional. So you do need to keep that in mind when you're looking for themes, images, and what you're going to do for content. Now another thing you're going to want to keep in mind too is, because you're using WordPress, plugins and extensions come to mind. These are things you can add to WordPress, and they're going to help you do certain things, or may do certain things that WordPress doesn't do on its own, or just may make things easier for you. So generally themes and plugins is where I suggest to start. It's a good place to go. Now when you're working on the theme, there are ones you can purchase, which are very nice. Generally these are more advanced, more scripted. They will sometimes have support with them. So that's one way to go. You can also look for a bunch of free themes online. Now you do need to be a little careful with these just because there are some bad people out there putting some bad themes out there. So you do want to do a little bit of research first. If you're not sure of it, you may want to start on the WordPress website, as you do have a bunch of themes and things that they've endorsed or shown that, hey, these are ones we found that people have come to us for, they're well received, they're okay. So you can aim for those if you're really not sure where to start off with. A good way to tell is check the rating system and check the reviews. And one thing is, if they do offer support, just do a quick check through the support tab to make sure that kind of if people have been having problems, they've been actually answered and someone's helping them out. So that way, if you run into that problem, you know there's that support there if you need it. In this case here, we actually found one already. We're actually going to go with one called Prospect. It's part of a business bundle. This one's actually a free one. You do have to log into the site to make an account first, but there's no charge for that. Small price to pay for a free theme that's already set up, so we're willing to pay that. Easy enough, you can look for any others you want. This is just the one, like I said, we've chosen. Now, the first thing you want to make sure you do is when you get the theme, you want to download it to your downloads folder, or desktop is where we'd recommend, just because it's fairly easy to get, but I mean, ideally you can put anywhere. Now, with the theme, there's going to be a bunch of files. Typically, there's going to be installation instructions. You want to make sure to follow those if you get them, and you're going to get some kind of a zip file. Now, if you're not familiar with the zip file, what this is a bunch of compressed content together. So in other words, it's all the actual themes, so pictures, layout, and everything, but you don't need to worry about it all. You just need to make sure that it's an actual zip file, because WordPress will take care of the rest of it for you. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to show you how to install the theme, because this is a good place to start. So the way you go here is you go to where it says Appearance, and then where it says Themes. And if you go here, you're actually going to come up right away, and it's going to say, okay, here's the theme you've currently got. In this case, 2011 is actually just a default theme from WordPress. It's got the older 2010 one as well. All we want to do is we actually want to go to the second tab at the top that says Install Themes. And what it's going to do is it's going to ask you whether you want to search for one. If you grab one off the WordPress site, you can actually just search for it and find it. You can go through the different filters here to try and find specific ones if you're still not sure of one. Because we've downloaded already, we're actually going to go to where it says Upload to get this off our computer. Now, it's going to tell you right away again that it needs to be in a zip format, so do make sure it is, otherwise it's not going to work properly. So in this case here, we've already got this set up. We're going to go to our Downloads folder, which is where we set this up. And inside the Downloads folder, we can see there's our zip file. It's called Prospect. So we're just going to select that one, select on where it says Open, and there you go. You can now click the Install Now button, and WordPress will actually take care of the rest of it for you. So it's rather hands-off, nice, simple, easy again. Really not that difficult. So we just wait here for it to install for us. Depending on the size of your theme, it may take longer, it may take less time if it's a more simple theme. So just do be aware that it may take a bit. And as you can see here, it's actually already finished for us, so very quick, very simple. And now one thing that's very, very important is when you install the theme, it's going to have 3 buttons at the bottom. One says List Preview. You can go there if you want just to quickly look at it. We're not going to bother with that. The main one is the second one where it says Activate. It is very critical that you click on where it says Activate. Otherwise, your theme isn't going to actually show up. It's still going to be the older one. So it'll be installed and showing there in the list of ones you can set up. So make sure you do activate it. Otherwise, it's not going to show up on your site. And it's going to cause you a lot of grief if you miss something like that. So do make sure it is really critical. So once it's gone through and activated, it'll automatically set it up for you, and it'll show that this is your managed theme. This is the one you've got set up. This is the one you've got installed. So it's all good to go there. So no worries there. So now that we've got that set up, a lot of people may say again, where do I go from here? Okay, I've got my theme. Do I want to put in content? Do I want to go look for images? Personally, I like to go ahead before I touch anything else and try and install everything in one go. That way, the rest of the work's all within WordPress. So in this case, there's another thing we're going to set up, and that's actually a plugin. And this plugin is called Shortcodes Ultimate. And what this does is this goes ahead and helps you quickly set up pages and content very easily within WordPress without having to know too much coding. It's going to require a little understanding of coding, but not really that much. You can easily pick it up within quick 5 minutes. It's very simple. We are going to show you how to use it, so that's going to give you a good understanding of kind of how it works. It is there really to help you out. It is well documented online, so I mean, if you don't get it right away, not to worry at all. We can easily read up on that later on. It's really not that hard to do. So what you want to do is you want to go to the plugin section of WordPress. You can actually find this on the left, and you want to go to where it says Install Plugins. And what that's going to do is it's going to take you to another page where it'll show you where all your plugins are installed and get you to adding ones here. So we're going to go to where it says Add New, and here it's actually going to search for plugins. You can actually find any one, so you could actually download others to your computer first and go through upload. In this case, we're not going to really worry about this because Shortcode is a really well received one, so you can check again ratings, you can check reviews, and kind of the way people have gotten it. So that's a good way to show it here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go to the one, and you can see it's already auto-populated here, so Shortcodes Ultimate, and we're going to go to Search Plugins, and it'll look through the entire list and come back with anything relevant to it. Now this is again going to show you similar to what the WordPress site actually shows you, which is a bunch of items like what kind of plugins are there, the reviews for them, different names, support. And it looks like the actual WordPress server is having a little downtime right now, so we're going to hope that this passes. We're just going to quickly try again and see if it'll get up there for us. And okay, we're going to actually skip installing that plugin just for a second because of the WordPress error. It looks like they're having some technical difficulties with their site. So with the installation for the plugins, what it is basically searching here. Once you search, it'll show you a list of plugins. You just click install next to it. It'll set it up for you just like the theme did. We're actually going to try and set that up a little later. We're going to pass it by and start setting up some of the settings first, which you can easily do as well. So the first thing you want to do is, once you've got the plugins, anything else you're going to install, it's a good idea to go into where it says settings. In the settings here, we're actually going to start off just by going to general. Now, as you can see here at the top, it's going to show you site title and tagline. These are the ones we set up in the original installation through Softaculous. And again, you can modify these to anything else if you want. Now, for these next two sections where it says WordPress address, URL, and site address, these aren't that important if you're not planning to set up anything fancy. If you have multiple installations of WordPress, or you plan to, say, set this up so it looks like it's coming from a different location, then you are going to need to play with these again. An example of this would be if you have it installed to /business, so a folder called business, but you want it to show up as your actual site, in this case sampledomain.net, then that's where you'd accomplish this. So you'd have your WordPress address URL set to the actual folder, whereas you have the site address set to what you want it to show up as. The email address, again, is just where it's going to send notifications to. The membership is more if you want to have people sign up for your site, so we're not going to touch this here because the business site doesn't necessarily need that. The main thing we're going to do, first of all, is we're going to set the time zone, because you do want to make sure that any kind of post or content you do is in the right format. You also want to set up date and time, just so anything you're working on right now is going to start showing up in the right location, so it's good to know. So we then want to click Save Changes after we've gone through and done that, and it's going to give you a little yellow bar across the top whenever you do something that says basically it did what it did or it had any problems. In this case, saying settings saved, no problem there. So what we can do here is at any time you can actually go to visit your site. So you can actually do that by just clicking on where it says at the top, visit site. It's going to show you what it is. So as you can see here, this is the basic theme we've set up. There's nothing really fancy there. It's still, for the most part, a basic WordPress installation. It's got the standard hello world. It's got all the settings all on the side. So we're going to slowly be removing everything out of the content. But we just want to show you kind of what a theme will look like without any content on it. But that's kind of what it looks like. You can go back and check anytime. You can always go back to the dashboard just by going up to the same one at the top and then going to where it says dashboard, and it'll take you back and forth. So that's, for the most part, kind of how you're going to be working with WordPress. You're either going to be just working all over the dashboard, or you're going to be swapping back and forth to make sure they work a little properly. So you can always go ahead and set up anything you want. Again, it's not very difficult to do, but you do want to make sure to go through from time to time and just make sure they are there. So we're going to go through and just see if it's going to let us do the plugin again, just because, like I said, I like to install everything first just for ease of use. And we're going to hope it goes through this time. Otherwise, we'll certainly just skip on to the next thing anyway. And it doesn't look like it's going to work again. So in this case here, we're actually just going to skip ahead to the next part. So what we want to do here is, now that we've got a basic layout set out, there's a couple different things you can go to from here. One of them, some people would suggest continuing finishing the theme first. Others would say, okay, go ahead and set up any page content. Really, at this point, it's free reign and you can set up wherever you want, because you've got your plugins installed, you've got your WordPress theme installed. It's all good to go from this point. So we're actually going to start by going through and editing a bunch of the theme itself. So we're going to go to where it says Appearance and Themes. And then we're going to play with a couple of the settings here first before we kind of go on. Now, the way you can get into here is you go to where it says, again, just Appearance and Themes, and you want to go to where it says Theme Options. Now, this is going to be different depending on what kind of theme you chose, because this is a custom thing set up for your theme itself. So it'll have a different layout and it'll have different options. So do keep that in mind. If you're not sure of anything in your theme that's in these options, go to the site itself for that, and they're going to have some proper documentation. Well, hopefully they're going to have some proper documentation. If you're having trouble finding documentation online, you may want to look into getting a different theme, but for the most part they're pretty good, or they're pretty straightforward when you're looking at them. In this case here, we're going to set up to start out with just the basics of the site. So the first thing here is with the custom logo. Now with any kind of a logo, you can go through and you can select, okay, what do I want this to look like? The logo is the one that's going to be appearing on your page, so you do want to make sure it is applicable or it does show up. So in this case here, we've actually got all our images already stored on the computer. So we're going to go to where it says .logo and go to this one, and you can set up again any one you want. Now we've actually got 2 of them here. The logo is actually the favicon, which we're going to get to in a second. We're using a specific size, so we're going to select this one. And as you can see, it's going to upload it automatically, and it's going to preview the image for us, which is pretty nice. It's going to show what it looks like. There's a little Doteasy image. And next thing we're going to go for is the favicon. You can put a custom image in the footer as well. We're actually not going to in this case because personally we don't like to set it up there, but you're more than welcome to set up anything you want. We're going to set up our favicon next. Now for those of you who aren't sure what the favicon is, you can actually see this in kind of the other windows we got open. This is the little image that goes next to the name of your tabs itself. So this is a little picture that's what the favicon is for. And people may comment on my pronunciation, but really pronounce it however you want. And for this one here, you can see again, it showed us the little demo of it here. So you can set up anything you want. So copyright text, tracking codes, any other thing. Tracking code, if you're not sure what it is, it's like it says in the example here. This is going to be for those of you who have set up Google Analytics, who like to track your site through various methods. This is where you're going to be adding that in. So for the copyright text, we're just going to write in something simple here. So copyrighted by 2012. Really, you can put in anything you want, put in a little copyright symbol, of course. So one thing you want to make sure to do is once you've got everything set up properly, you want to go to where it says Save Images. If you ever don't like what you've got, you can always hit Reset. You may have ones that have different types of reset. Now, as you're going to see here, there's a lot of options on the side. We're actually going to leave those away a little bit for right now, just because those are a little more advanced settings. And we're not going to get to those until we actually get the page content in a bit. Because if you change these here, although it may change a little bit on the page, it's mostly just the way things look. So we want to get a little bit of the content in here before we worry about that. The only thing we're going to go to and do here is under social media. And the reason for that is just because social media goes ahead and this is things like Twitter, this is like Facebook. You want to make sure they're connected and in there, because this is going to put a little actually icon at the bottom of our template. And you could do it differently for yours, but you can put in anything you want here. So we're going to again just go in and put in our Facebook page address. And there we go. We can see it's already in there. We got the Twitter username in there, and again we've already got it in there as well. So we're going to click Save. So although we're going to show you later on what this actually looks like, just to give you a heads up, in this template itself, it'll actually put the little Facebook icon and Twitter icon in the bottom for you. So it is very convenient, very nice for this one. And I mean, if you're running a business, you want to have it linked to as many things as you can. So Facebook, Twitter, if you have any other accounts as well, you want to make sure to have them up there for more exposure, and so they can quickly get around your different sites. So more advertising, more exposure, good things to have. Very good things to keep in mind. So for this one here, we've kind of got our basic settings set up. Like I said, you can go into the rest of the theme options yourself right now if you want to get everything set up properly first. You can also go into the page content. It really depends on whether you're more of a creative person and you enjoy getting it styled and making it look all pretty first, or whether you want to say, okay, I've got enough with the themes, I'm done with this for now, let's get some actual content in there. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually go ahead and start setting up some content. So you can go to set up a bunch of posts if you want to start there. We'd actually suggest starting it with the pages just so you can get your default pages set up. So that's where we're going to actually go to. So you can click on pages and you can see right now there's just the default page there. We're actually going to remove that. So we're going to select it, click on trash below it, and just get rid of that. So now that we've gone through and done that, we're going to click on where it says add pages at the top. You can also go to add pages in the side menu. Very simple, very easy to set up. So once we go to add pages, it's going to ask you for a title here. Now, because we're starting off, we're just going to title this home. But again, you're more than welcome to title this whatever you want. It's completely 100% up to you. It doesn't matter. Now, one thing to note before you actually start typing in any content for this is you want to make sure to go into the page template. And you want to look through here. Now, for this one here, you're going to see a lot of them. Now, this is maybe different for the ones you look at, and this is actually controlled by your theme. So in this case here, we have an actual theme page for our home page, so it'll make our home page look different. So we want to make sure to select that. If you're using a different theme, it may have a home page, may have a different one. The installation instructions should actually probably cover that. So it is just something to keep in mind when you're going through and doing that. But again, you are welcome to set this up in any kind of order you want, so there's no problem there. You can put in any kind of content you want. We've actually got a little bit of content set up, which we're just going to copy and paste in there, just so it's defaulted in there. But again, you don't need to put anything you want. And we're actually going to put in a little bit of Latin, just because it's very simple, very easy to put in. and it's fairly standard again for most people. So we got some content in there. Again, you can really put in anything you want. There's no real downside to what you want to put in here. Now, once you've gone through and you've done this, there's a couple different buttons on the side here to take note of. One of them is Save Draft. This is so you can save what you're doing. Now, when you first create it, it's going to keep a save draft. It's actually going to show you down here with the time template. So you just want to keep note of when that's saved. If you've been working on it and you notice it hasn't been updated since then, definitely click Save Draft. It's going to cause you to save yourself a lot of grief in case something ever happens. Because although something shouldn't happen, there is always the unforeseen, and it's better safe than sorry. Now, if you want to look at it, what it actually looks like beforehand, you can always go to Preview. Not a bad idea for those of you who are kind of working and seeing how it works with the layout, or maybe kind of prefer to guess and check things. That's definitely what that button's there for. Now, you do need to make sure to click this blue button that says Publish, otherwise it's not going to show up online. So it is very, very important. In this case here, we're just going to go ahead and click Publish already. It's going to tell you page published, view page, you're good to go for that. Now we're going to go through and add a couple more pages and just right away so we can get kind of the meat of our page, our site done, so we've got all the default pages. So we're going to go to Add Page again, and this time we're going to go ahead and we're going to set up the news page. And I mean, you can really set up any page you want. There's no real downside to one way or the other. So for the news page, we're just going to again type in the word news. And for any kind of a business site, you want to try and have your news up there just so if you have any investors or if you're, say, on the stock market, things like that, that's what they're going to be looking for. So you do want a quick reference there, especially if people are just kind of wondering how the company's doing. This is what you want to have jump up so that they can go to news page and bang, there's everything currently up to date already showing there. And they can go through any kind of older articles you want. So you do want to make sure to set up there. In this case here, we've just got our template set to default template. We don't have a special one for the news, so we're just going to set that up. And in this case here, we can set up whatever we want. We're actually going to leave this, in this case here, blank, just because we're going to be doing a little bit here. We're actually going to switch this to the blog template. Just in this case, you can leave it on default template. It's up to you. The blog template, we choose a little bit more of the default template, and then just because the blog template is more like the average blog is, which WordPress is a little more designed. So we like it to look a little bit that way, but again, default template just good. It's really up to you for those of you who are following along with ours, but we're going to go with blog in this case, just to keep it simple. And again, save draft, preview, publish. You can set up anything you want there. So it is nice and easy to use. We're going to just publish the way it is and have that set up. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to where it says add new. We're going to add another page on top of this. This is going to be our about page. Now this is pretty critical for any of those, again, who are setting up a business, because you do need to put a little background for your business, a little other information there. So it is fairly important to get that set up. In this case here, we're actually just going to type in a bunch of extra things. We're going to have this set up to the default template because this is just a fairly generic site. Fairly generic page. There's nothing special there, so you don't really need to worry about it all that much. So we're going to go ahead to, again, just save draft and then publish it. By the way, you can actually just go ahead to publish every time if you want. It'll automatically kind of save a draft at that point and publish it online, so you don't need to worry about that. Now the next thing we're going to do here is we're actually going to try and get the shortcodes again, the little plugin. Before we go a little further, just because the next page we're planning to set up is actually going to be using this plugin, so we're going to hope that it's fixed whatever problem it was going through before, and we're just going to quickly go for that again. So here we go, Shortcodes Ultimate, and we're going to go for search plugins, and we're going to hope we can find it here again. In this case here, we're actually just going to at the same time grab it because we do need to get here. So we're just going to go into the actual one here. We can see WordPress Shortcodes Ultimate, and if we need to, we'll just download from here and install it that way. So as you can see here, it's got a download button. We can see WordPress error down again, so not to worry. If it happens, it happens. I mean, that's why we go to the pages like WordPress itself. So we're just going to quickly download this here. It's going to ask us to save it. We're just going to go ahead and click on save, and we're going to wait for that to finish. It's just going to take a quick couple minutes here. So just while that's going here, just to quickly kind of recap what this is going to help you set up columns, pages, things like Google Maps really quickly. One thing we did mention before is the actual rating system. So you do want to make sure you check through the ratings of any kind of a plugin or theme you're setting up. It is very important. You may want to read the comments. You can actually see the support, the reviews, the developers. So you can go through a lot of information very quickly and just kind of find out, is this something you want to use? Is it a legitimate item? And whether it's actually being constantly updated. Now the updates are fairly important because whenever you go through and do any kind of scripting language, if you don't keep things up to date, can result in someone getting into your site through exploits that are found. It's actually one of the more common reasons why things like WordPress and everything else are updated. It's just to cover that. So in this case here, we've gone ahead and we've downloaded it, so not a problem there. We're actually just going to make sure it download to where we want, and it's in the downloads folder, so not to worry. So now that we've got that set up, we're going to actually go ahead and install this here. We're going to go to upload at the top in this case, and we're going to go to where it says browse, and we're going to go back to our downloads folder, and you can see here Shortcodes Ultimate is there. We're now going to click install now, and it's going to go ahead and install for us. So we're just going to quickly wait for that to finish again, and there we go, it's already done. So again, whenever you install any kind of a plugin, it's very, very critical to click that activate plugin button. Otherwise, you may end up pulling your hair out trying to figure out why it's not working. So save yourself a lot of grief and do it as soon as you set it up. So we're just going to quickly wait for that to activate here, and then we know we can continue on with the way we're setting this up. So there we go, we've now got it active. You can always check by going to your plugin list and checking. It'll say whether it's activate, deactivate. So in this case here, we can see it says deactivate means it's actually activated and it is up and running. So now that we've got that there, we're going to go back to pages, and we're going to go back to add new. We're going to try and set up our third page. Our third page here is actually going to be called services. So in this case here, we're going to be setting up some shortcodes and some other things. So you first of all want to make sure you go through the basic things here of setting up the default templates and everything. In this case here, our template, we're actually going to change this time to one column, no sidebar, and that's just the look we're kind of going for. But again, the layout is 100% up to you. So do make sure you play around with the different layouts and make sure you do have something looking for. Now, one thing you're going to notice, which may be a little different for those of you who are noticing the other screens, is that up here at the top where it says upload and insert, you're going to see a little pair of brackets now. Now, this square brackets is actually the shortcode plugin. It's actually added something to the page. So if we click on this here, it's going to come up with the little UI that wasn't here before. So it's going to ask you to select what kind of shortcode. So in this case here, it's going to have a whole list so you can actually look through and see what you're playing with. If you type it in, it's actually going to come to it. So you can use whatever kind of one you want here. In this case here, we're actually going to go to column. So we're just going to type in the start of column here, and you can see it's come up. So it's flexible column. So we're going to select that, and it's going to give us a bunch of different options here. So you can see column width of 1 to 2, last column, column style. So this is where you can kind of differentiate it a bit. Now, for those of you who are just starting out, you may not have that much information. You can click the little demo button here. It'll actually show you kind of what it looks like. So this is an example of what it is. So it is nice here. That's why we, again, like shortcode a bit, just because it does simplify things here, and it does give you a graphic demo for those of you who have never really used it before. So it is really nice to use. So the only thing we're changing from this one here is we're going 1 to 2 length. We're going as 0 column, and we're changing the column style to actually 1 in this case. So again, you can click on demo. It's going to show you what it looks like. In this case, it looks fairly similar, same as before. So you can actually change the content column to whatever you want. It's, again, just really up to you. But we're going to have that in here. Once you're ready to go, you want to click on where it says insert, and you're going to see here it's going to set this up. Now for this here, you probably want to spread this out a little bit at first, and what I'd suggest doing is I'd suggest removing this section here where it's just like column content, and you just want to space this out a bit. So what this is just to let those of you know who have never really worked with any kind of website language before, is the brackets signify what's called a tag. So in other words, everything below there is going to be part of that column that you just previously set up. So the one with the what's called the open bracket, which it just starts with the word column, that's the starter. The one with the slash with column is the close tag, which means it's going to close it off here. So everything between there is going to be part of that, so you can put in any kind of content you want. And you can go ahead and put in pictures, and it's going to try and put that in the same order. So you do want to kind of set it up that way. Now for this here, we're going to just drop a little bit of things here. We've actually got a little basis of what we're going to set up here. So we're going to click on where it says services 1. And we're going to go through and we're going to set this up. And again, you can really set up anything you want. There's no downside to it. There's no upside. It's really up to you, whatever kind of content you want. And we're going to just put in a bunch of Latin again, because again, that's fairly standard. We're just going to call it services 1. And then we're going to add another item in here. We're just going to add a list here just to kind of show you what other things we can show here. There is a lot you can do with it. So we're going to list. It's going to ask us what kind. We're going to select this. You can select what kind you want here, whether it's arrow, check, or anything. We're actually just going to go check in this case. It's going to ask you what kind of an item. We're just going to leave this as content list like that. and we're just going to again click insert. So for this here, it's giving you a demo of what it's going to look like beforehand, and it's just going to say, okay, set up anything you want here, and you can very easily do that. Again, we've got a couple list items already set up, so we're just going to add that back in here. But again, this is more just we're adding this based on what we've already set up, just as something quick to show you. But this is where you're going to be adding in your actual content yourself. We're just trying to, again, keep this as simple as possible for you and easy to go. So for this here, you can really set up anything you want. There's no downside, there's no upside. It's really anything you want. And whenever you enter it in here, as you can see, we just copy and pasted, so it's a little extra. But if you press enter after any line, it's going to add another dot and another section to it. So you want to try and kind of keep the space down, keep it clean, so that it's really simple for those of you who are just starting out, so it is easy to look at. So you can say, okay, my column starts here, I've got a list inside my column, and then my column ends here. Very easy to see, easy naming sense. Now the last thing we're going to add here to this is a button. And this one here is just so that we can get back to the actual page itself. And this is more just something we're setting up so it's easy to see, easy to do. But again, it is free and up to you kind of to add the things as you want. The button, the main example here is we're planning to have this so we have a services page and then we have links to where the actual services go. So you can again set up anything you can browse through. We're actually just going to type in again just the word button and have it come up because it's a little faster for us. And you're going to see everything here. Now for this one here, we don't have the actual button link set up yet, so you just want to leave this blank, and you're going to mostly just leave it here. You can set up any of these the way you want, but if you want to change the button style or anything like that. We're actually going to leave everything the same here. We're just going to actually not touch any of this, but I mean, you can really set this up any way you want. You can call them anything you want. We're just going to call it button text and leave everything general. But the link itself right now is just going to, pound symbol means it's just going to go to the same page. And in this case here, we're just going to leave it like that. We're going to be touching those a little later, just to let you know, so you don't need to worry. You can see it's already added in the button section here. So we're going to be touching upon that later. Now we have set a lot here, so we do want to make sure we click Save Draft. So it is very, very important to make sure you go through and do that. So then you can go through and you can set up anything else you want here. We've just gone through and set up some basic services, some basic other things, but it's very, very important to make sure you go through and do that. Now what we want to do here is we just, like I said, set up a basic services one, but you can go through and you can set up everything else you want here. You can set up additional services, you can do everything. So this is just kind of showing you what you want to have for this. So we're just going to go through and we're going to add in some extra things here. Now rather than going through and just quickly adding it back in, because it's mostly just a bunch of copy and paste, we're actually just going to just add in the rest that we already set up ourselves earlier. So we're just going to quickly copy this again, add this in here. But again, you just want to go to the little shortcode icon and get the setup. It is very simple, very easy to use. As you can see here, kind of as the extra things we set up here, it's all the same format. There's nothing really outside of the norm of what we did for the other ones. So all this is all set up here. We're again going to save draft. And then you want to make sure everything along the side is where it wants to be. And then we're going to publish this page as well. So now that we got this set up, we've now said, okay, our services comprise of 3 services. We've got our services 1, services 2, and services 3 that we set up in the column. So what I want to do now is I want to go to, again, add page. I'm going to add new. And this time we're actually going to call this services 1. Now the one thing that's different is this is going to be a page underneath the services. So under page attributes, you haven't seen us touch the parent yet. We've been setting this to no parent. What that means is that it's its own page. It doesn't belong to anybody else. In this case here, we're actually going to be showing this to services. Then that tells WordPress that it's actually a page underneath services. So you can see kind of a tree forming or a hierarchy, however you want to set it up, so that anytime you look at services, you're going to know services under there. This is mainly going to be used later on for things like the menu and shortcuts as well. So it is important to set up there, and you do want to make sure you have it set up. You can again set this up any way you want. There's no real right or wrong way. It is up to you. In this case, we're going to go for the default template again, just because this is a default site. But there's nothing really bad or good about this. You can set this up again any way you want. Any kind of content you set up here is fine. We're actually just going to kind of mimic what we did for the previous one. You can set up anything you want. We're just going to set up a bunch of Latin. The only thing we're going to change this time here is we're going to start adding a bunch of pictures and other content, just so you are familiar with how that's set up. It's not a very difficult thing to do. So what we've done here is we've added a bunch of text here, and you say, okay, I'm tired of adding text. I want to make it look a little prettier. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add an actual image. So the way you can add an image is by clicking on the little one here at the top where it says Add Media. So it's going to ask you to add files or anything from the computer. You can add it from different sites. You can add it from your media library if you set one up. We're just going to click on where it says select files. Now we're going to go to the folder here where you have everything set up. You're going to, of course, want to go to wherever your images are. We go to images, and because we're doing the services at this point, we're going to select where it says services 1, just because we work on the first services page here. So we're going to select that, and it's going to come up here, and it's going to show us the picture, which is nice, so we can see what it looks like. It's going to give a little title based on the name. You want to make sure you click on this button at the bottom where it says Insert Post, so it actually comes up on the page. Otherwise, it's not going to show. So you want to click Insert to Post, and bang, you can see it's already on our page. It's showing there. Very nice, very easy, very quick to set up. So we want to make sure we click on Save Draft, and we're just going to click on where it says Publish. So now what we want to do is we're going to do the same basic thing for the next 2 pages. There's not going to be really anything different here. You can, again, go ahead and call them whatever you want, and we're going to make sure that they're all here. We're actually just going to quickly update this here and then go to the next page itself. So we're going to go to where it says Add New, and this one here we're going to type in Services 2, and this is going to be, again, just the same as what we're doing. And we're going to go through this one fairly quick. Now, one thing you can see under Parents is you can see that under Services, it now has Services 1, the previous page we set up. So we just want to quickly, again, go to Default Template, nothing really special out of here. And we're, again, just going to quickly copy and paste some Latin into here, and then a quick picture as well. Just so there is a little bit of change here. You can see they are, in fact, different pages, and that's what we're mainly using the pictures to show. Again, the pictures are going to be relevant to whatever kind of content you're using. It is really up to you what kind of pictures or what kind of content is on the page. We're just, again, showing you a quick way of setting this up, how to make it look fairly professional in the process, and how to get that done. So we're just going to, again, save draft and publish. You don't have to save draft every time. You can, again, just go to publish like I said before. I like to do it personally just to be safe, and not just me, because I've had it to the point where I've lost the site before and had to recreate it. And most of those who have set up a lot of sites in their personal time have seen that as well happen. So you may see a couple of us that are maybe a little extra cautious or careful than you need to be. You don't need to be if you think it's a waste of time or if you're rushed on time, so don't worry about it. Again, it's just one of those things that we've looked at and we're like, okay, it's better safe than sorry. So we're just going to get, again, our extra bit in there, add a quick image, and then we're going to go to Select Files, set the one for Services 3 again, and there we go. So we've got our quick services, pictures, and everything good to go. It's added in there. Default templates under our services, so we just go to Save Draft, and we're going to go ahead and click on Publish afterwards. So what this does is this basically set up, for the most part, our default page structures. So we've got everything else set up here. Now you may look at all your pages here and you're like, okay, what have I got set up so far? So you're like, I've got About, I've got Home, I've got News, I've got Services. So this is, for the most part, the bulk of any kind of a business site. You're, of course, going to go into a little more detail that we've gone into. We're just trying to set up a basic understanding, or maybe give you some suggestions to set up. Now, one thing that's missing here, which we're going to be doing next, which you may look at and say, okay, there's something missing here, what is it? And that's going to be the contact page. And the reason for that is, hey, you want people to contact you, otherwise you're probably not going to make any sales, or maybe not get any kind of feedback you're looking for the site. So a contact page is very, very important. So we're going to go to where it says Add New Page, and we're going to set our contact page up next. So we're, again, just going to tell this is Contact, and you can put any kind of extra content page you want. You can put anything you want. So we're going to go through and we are going to be setting this up. So we're going to go to the shortcodes for this one, and we're going to be setting up a column just as we did before. And this is just something kind of we're personally setting up. You can, again, set this up any way you want. So this one here, we're actually going to set this up to 1 to 4. And again, you can set this up, you can set up 3, 4, it's really up to you. I'm going to set this up to 0, I'm going to set this up to 1. And we're just going to head and we're going to click on where it says that. And then we've got that set up. Again, just the basic settings. One thing I highly suggest is, again, just quickly spacing it out for a little simple, little easy to use, a little niceness on the eye. That's really what it's mainly there for, to avoid confusion. And that's what I like to do, just kind of open it up as you go along. And you can add any kind of content. Again, we're just going to go through and we're going to add in the same content we've been doing before, which is just this. You can input in any kind of a picture or anything else you want. We're going to put in a picture just to, again, try and separate our pages at this point. And we're going to select Files. You can set anything you want. We're just going to grab one-to-ones from the other pages just to kind of keep it simple at this point. And insert that into Post. And you can, again, set up anything you want. Now, for this one here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting up a couple of extra things. and now you can kind of set up anything else you want. So that's kind of our column at that point. You can again keep setting this up. Now one thing we're going to do here is we are going to be setting up our next thing, so we're just going to quickly copy and paste this because we're setting up the same style of column. And we're just going to go to type it in this time, just instead of going through and doing it, to show that you can actually type in the shortcodes if you start memorizing them or you're working with them a lot. So one thing we're going to do this time between this column is we're going to be adding something a little different, which you normally have on a contact page. So we're going to go to the shortcodes and we're going to type in this case here, it's actually done as Gmap, so mapped by Google. So you want to make sure that it's going to ask you for a width, it's going to ask you for height, and it's going to ask you for a marker address. Now the marker address, a lot of you are going to be asking, what the heck is this? Because if you've never used Google Maps before, you're really not going to know what it is. Now the marker address is basically a pinpoint activated on somewhere else. So in this case, you're going to need to make sure you've actually gotten this from Google. You can set this as anything you want. In this case here, you're probably going to need to actually go to the Google site and just quickly grab it off there. So, but you can leave it blank if you're really not sure of how to do this. Again, there's really no right or wrong way of how to do this. It's really 100% up to you. You do want to make sure you set up the width and the height properly. We're not going to worry about it too much in this case, but if you do have a theme at a very particular size, your width and height need to be in there, otherwise you may break the page or make it look a little weird. So it is very, very important to go through and actually make sure that is proper. Otherwise, again, it is going to look very strange. So you just want to make sure it is in there properly. But again, you can really set up this any way you want. It's 100% up to you. And you can just go ahead and insert this as there. And you can see it's going to have it in there. It doesn't have any extra code or anything like that there, just because there's nothing set up. No, we've already got one set up here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and actually take this here and add this back in ourselves. So we're going to just quickly drop this in here just because we already set it up. And again, you are going to need to set up the marker yourself, and you can get this straight off Google, so it's not something hard to find. So you just want to make sure you do go through and get that. But again, you can set up anything you really want. So we just quickly added that back in here, and you can see our basic column and everything are good to go. And again, you can just want to quickly make sure everything is where you want it to be. And now that we got that set up here, that's basically what we've done. Now you're going to say, okay, we've got our Google Maps, we've got a bit of about our site, maybe like address, things like that. What's the last thing we need to set up? Well, the last thing you of course want to set up is the actual contact form itself, because otherwise how are people going to email you? Now in this case here, you may say, okay, well, how do I set this up? There's a couple different ways to approach this problem. You can either get a plugin which will help you set up the contact form itself. If you've already got a contact form from, say, a previous site, or you're using one of our website plugins, you can just quickly add that to the code here itself and get that working that way. Or if you want to set up through WordPress, you just need to scroll down to the bottom where it says Ajax configuration form. So what this here is going to have a bunch of information. So you want to first of all start with the top section, as this is the important. So send submissions to, this is where you want to set up your email address, where you want to get it to go. Now typically speaking, you don't want to put up a personal email address unless you're using maybe a smaller business or you want it to go there for a specific reason, because you may get spam or other things there. It may happen, but just to what you typically want to look more professional by putting a business there, maybe sales, maybe info, maybe PR at your domain. So these are all good ideas to go with. We're just going to leave it here as, we're just going to change this to info, just to keep this a little simple. So the subject line is what the actual subject line is, the message is going to appear when someone emails it to you. So if you're doing something for sales or contact form, you may want to actually change this to contact form. So we're actually just going to change that here to contact form. Now the from address is going to be what actual address it shows as being from. So you can set up anything you want. Typically you want to go as like a no reply, because you don't want people to be expecting a reply from it, because you're probably not going to be using it for that. This is mainly just to catch all kinds of information. The submit button is basically what they're actually going to click on, so what that text shows. So that's what that one is. Now you can set up any kind of field you want here. It's going to ask you what kind you want. Now the default one is new field. We're just going to type this in as first name, and you can again just title these whatever you want, set it up. It's going to ask you what type. We're going to click text input. It's going to ask you whether it's a default value. This is, you can have it set up as say like name or something else. In this case here, display order is where it's going to show. And whether it's validation, you want to try and set up validation if it requires one. In this case here, we're going to go to where it says field is required, meaning someone has to enter this, otherwise the form is not going to let it go through. So what we want to do is, now that we've got that, we're just going to click on add, and it's got that there. Now we're going to go down to the second one we've done, and we're going to type in just again last name, just to keep it kind of simple. Most of everything's here. We're going to go, this one's required again. We're going to go to add new field again to add another field. So this one here, we're going to change it up. We're going to say email address. And we're going to, again, you can select different kinds here. We're going to select again just text input. And we're going to require email validation, meaning it's going to actually physically check to make sure it's an email address. You then want to go ahead and click on where it says add new again. And we're going to add one more here just to keep it simple and interesting. And we're going to put in just information. And for this one here, we're going to actually set this to multi-line text input, meaning people can write a lot of different things. And for this one here, we're going to have a default text showing of enter info. And we're going to select, again, just no verification on this because we don't really matter or not. Now this is really, really important. You do need to make sure to go to the section where it says shortcode and actually copy this in here, this value that it generates for you. And you need to actually put that in here. And the reason why this is very important is that's the only way the actual form is going to be on there. Because even though you're creating the background here, the only way for this form to show up on your page is if you do copy it in there. So do make sure you do put in there. Otherwise, you may be pulling your hair out again going, why is my form not showing? I did everything you said. Well, that's why. You do want to make sure to put it in there. Once you've got that all set up, you want to make sure to go ahead and save it as a draft, just like anything else. And again, you want to make sure to save often. We've kind of been doing this very simple and mostly copy and pasting our content in there because we're just using demo information. But if you are typing, do make sure to save it in there before you start playing around. Just in case you do screw up something or you do change something you didn't want to, you can always go back and just kind of cancel it off. So it is very, very important to go through and do that. And in this case here, we've got an actual template for it, so we are going to be setting that up. And we're just going to set that on, again, template on site and go to contact and have that all good to go. So now that we've got that set up, we're going to publish that so that's actually visible online. So now we've got most of our pages kind of set up and where we want to go. So a lot of people may be wondering, okay, we've got that set up, now where do we kind of go from here? Well, there's a couple different ways we can go. We can again go back to the style and start playing with that a little more now that we've got some meat in our pages, so we've got some actual content to look at and see how it affects it. Now another group may say, okay, I want to start screwing around with the menus. Others may want to go, okay, let's play with the widgets. And some people are probably going, now what's a widget? Not to where we're going to be covering that in a bit. In this case here, we're actually going to go back next to the menus just because we're going to try and keep this in an ordered fashion. And because we've set up all the pages now, it's very easy to set up the menu. So the first thing you need to do is you need to select any kind of a menu name. So you can set up anything you want. In this case here, we're just going to call this main menu. As you can see it already in here. We're going to click on where it says create menu. And it's just going to go ahead and create it in here for us. So what we can do is we're actually just going to click on where it says select all here because we want everything to be in this menu. If you don't want anything to be in the menu, again, do not include it in this list. So you just go ahead and click on where it says add to menu and it's going to go through and add those all for us. So now what we're going to do is we're going to play a little and move this around to get it to look nice. So we're going to go ahead up here, get the home button first. But again, you can really set up whatever kind of order you want. It's, again, just really up to you. There's no right or wrong way to do this. So we're going to go get the about up here. We're going to go to where it says news, get this up here as well. So we're going to go basically home, news, about, and then we're going to go to services, have this next. And mostly we're just setting this up in mind of kind of a business site of what you'd want people to be looking at. Now, one thing to be very, very careful with as you're doing this is kind of what you're seeing me playing around with right now is where you line them up along the side. So you can see here everything, the others, home, news, about, services, and contact are all lined up together. This is meaning that when you look at your menu, those are all your main things that are going to be showing up. Services 1, 2, and 3 are all underneath services. They're a little bit indented. This actually means that when you look at the menu, if you actually go to services, you're going to see a submenu pop up, and that's where it's usually going to show. So you can even go like further, so you can even drag it so services 1 will show up under services 2, and you can just keep on what it's called nesting your menus so that they keep getting complicated. Now you do try and want to leave it at max at 3 menus. Just for a couple reasons. Number one is you generally don't need to go into that kind of a specification. It's better to have an actual menu on that specific page where you go into more depth of detail. So that way people aren't getting flooded with menus and they aren't getting lost in the menu system. Plus sometimes you can forget where things are and it can get a little buggy, so it's a good thing to avoid. So in this case here, we're just going to leave this simple. We're just going to have one main menu and one kind of menu branching off from it, and that's what we're going to have it here. So it is very, very simple, very easy to do, and you can easily set it up under here. So now that we've got that all under here, you want to make sure that you set this up under here as well, under theme locations, so that your primary navigation is set up to main menu. Now your theme may look different than the others. It's completely, again, up to your theme. Once you've got that in there, you want to make sure to save everything. And again, yellow bar at the top, it's going to tell you whether it went through and did it or not. Now you do want to make sure everything is there. You can go ahead and set them off however you want. It's up to you. Now some people may say, or may have been looking at their site and saying, okay, well, I've got these pages set up, but when I go to my domain, nothing's happening. Like, it's not coming up to the home page that we set up. Why is that happening? Well, that's because WordPress by default will set up its own index page, and it doesn't actually go to your pages unless you tell it to. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to tell it to go where we want. You can get there by going to where it says settings and then going to where it says reading. Now under here, it's going to ask you, front page displays as your latest post is the default one. We don't want this because we're actually not going to do this. So we want to select on where it says static page. This means that it's always going to go to the very same page that we've created. So our front page, we actually want to be the home page, so that anybody who goes to our site is going to go to the home page we set up. The post page is basically asking you, where should the post be set up under? We've set up news so that it's going to previously do that, so that's where we want this to be done. So we want to click on news again. The rest here you can kind of play with, and that's really your choice. So you can go under like blog pages, how many are there. So this is how many are going to show up, whether they need to go into the actual blog or kind of specialize beyond there. And the rest, like kind of encoding at the bottom, don't even worry about that unless you're going to specialized languages, which you need other characters for. Then this is very, very important. So this is things like if you're doing Japanese, Chinese, certain forms of Arabic, any special characters you're thinking of, you are going to need to make sure your encoding is there. Otherwise, you're not going to see your characters load properly. So once we got that set up, we want to go to Save Changes just so it gets that done. So what this does is basically says, okay, now when we go to your site and you try and view this from now on, you're going to see an actual home page come up, which is pretty nice to see. And I mean, really, you can kind of set it up differently. You can play with it to get it to go to different sites if you want. See, maybe you like it to go to your about page or news page. I mean, it is up to you. And again, there's really no right or wrong version or way to do it. It's 100% up to you. So now that we've got that up here, what we're going to do is we're going to start adding a bunch of posts in here to get them done. Because you can see we've been adding pages, but we've actually not had any posts yet. So we're going to go to where it says All Posts. And we're just going to quickly grab this up. As you can see here, there's a default post. We're actually just going to get rid of this just because we don't want it there. It doesn't look very professional to have just a generic post there, of course. Good way people can say, okay, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Don't bother with his site. So do make sure you do remove the default content as you're going through and doing this. So now we got rid of that, we're going to go to where it says Add New Post. At the top, you can also get there again from the menu from the side at any time. And here you can set up anything you want. Now, one thing you're going to notice here is there's going to be a category section, which is just right now going to say uncategorized. So this is really where you're going to kind of be adding this to or doing whatever you want with it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have a new post. You can, again, just set this up as whatever you want. The post title can be just, again, whatever you want. We're just going to, in this case, going to call this Post 1, just because that's what it's going to be. You can, again, just change in any kind of content you want. We're just going to, again, just grab a bunch of our random Latin code, which is just really to show that there's a chunk of text on the page. You can add in images if you want. You can do in shortcodes. You can really add in anything. So the posts are really anything you want. In this case here, the posts on the site we've been setting up are actually our news feed. So they're going to be things specifically relating to this. So you can, again, go up for anything you want. In this case, we've actually got a couple. We're going to set up this one here for news. And we're going to make sure that that's set up there, just a generic news post. So we've got that there. Now you can go through and you can set up any kind of a category you want. In this case, we're actually going to add a category here because we don't have one. So we're going to go to where it says news, and we're just going to set this up. You can even go under the parent categories you've done before. Just kind of, parent always means that it's going to be under one of the other things. We're just going to select add new category here, and it automatically drops in the list here, and it check marks it for us. So now we've got that in here. You can add extra tags and things like that. We're actually not going to cover that really right now. That's more of an advanced thing you can set up if you want to, but it's not really needed for all sites. So we're just going to go ahead and save the draft once we've done that, and then we're going to click on publish to make sure that that actually shows up online. Now we're just going to quickly set up another couple posts here just to show you kind of what it looks like. So we're going to go into add new, we're going to go to post 2, and again, we're just going to keep these fairly generic. We're just going to keep adding images to keep it simple. Again, you are welcome to show that. Got a picture of me here just to show when we were doing one of our other videos here with our business website showing what it looks like. So again, you can set up anything you want. You can really have it show up whatever you want. Now, as you can see here, one funny thing it did was because I didn't space it out here, it actually screwed with the layout. So you do want to make sure that you do have it set up properly. As you see when you added images, you may need to do that. And we, again, now because we didn't set up the category this time, we need to check mark it. So it is very important to do that. So we're just going to quickly publish this, and then we're going to set up one more just because we've been setting up 3s of every other kind of demos for the pages. So we're just going to add one more here and get this done. So I'm going to go to add new and set up our last post page here. So we got the post 3. We're just going to quickly put in our content, add our last image, and keep it very, very simple, of course, as we've been doing here before, because we don't want to get too kind of technical on you guys. As that's really part of the fun of playing around with yourself as well, is getting that done. So we've got that here. We're going to publish that. Again, we've got that set up here. So you can go ahead and modify it. Whenever you modify it, make sure to click on update and go through and do it there. And now we've got that set up. So we've got basically most of our posts set up. They're all under the right category. So we've got some actual content under our news section. So now here again, you can go to different things. You can set this up in different ways. There's really no wrong way or right way to go through and do this. So I mean, we just set up a bunch of them. You may set up a large amount. I mean, you may have your marketing group sign in and go to town on this. You can always set up additional users as well that have access to certain sections of the site. So that's maybe what you want to do if you want to have multiple people working on it once, which WordPress definitely does allow. Now, there's a couple different ways we can do it from here and different places we can go. Because we've already set this up, we've gone through and done everything we want. Now, one other thing we're going to do here is we're going to just touch upon something we've kind of not done here, which is called the share box. So we're going to go under appearance, and we're going to go under theme options again. And this time we're actually going to go under and start playing with some of these here that we haven't been touching. One of them is actually going to be called the blog option. Now, because we've set up the blog, most of the themes and everything, we're going to go into here. So, I mean, you can set this up really, again, however you want. We're setting this up based on our personal preference and what we've kind of set up. But we really do encourage you to play with it and make something that really looks nice to you. And maybe it looks a little more eye-catching, because that's really what's going to appeal to your customers and people who are coming to your site, and separate it out from maybe the horde of other sites that are trying to sell in the same business. So being a little more unique may help you out here. So it is something that's good to do. Again, it's really up to you how you want to set up. There's no right or wrong way. We're just, again, doing this however we want, but it's really up to you. So in the blog options here, we've got a bunch of different things here. You're going to ask, okay, what are these? We're going to set up the masthead for this. And the masthead is basically going to be showing up something on top, showing basically this is the top of the page. This is one we want to have set up. Now for this here, we're going to actually leave most of these other settings open here because we haven't set this up. You can set up text or anything else. We're actually going to do the share box, and what the share box does is basically shows what's going on. So something we can add there quickly to show maybe a little going on with the. Now from here we can go into more setting up pages. We can set up widgets, but we're going to actually finish off the rest of the theme options just because we're already here and because we've got the main sections of our site set up. So now that we've got that here, we're going to go to where it says styling, and we're going to be setting this up here. Now styling, you can really set up whatever color you want. This is mainly going to be affecting the background. If you're not sure what this is actually going to change, you actually want to go through and take a look at this yourself first. We're actually going to go with either the red or the orange just because we think they look best. So we're going to select red. The overlay is just kind of whatever you want to set up. We're going to go with glow just because, again, we think that looks really nice. So make sure those are both selected. Click Save Changes. We're then going to go to the topography and the interface next. Under the interface, this is basically things like how it's going to look. Basically what you want it left-sided, right-sided columns, what you want to have set up here. We're actually going to select this to right-sided just because right side sets it out a little different. Most people try and have left area for the sidebar. We're going to have this on the right just to something to make our site look a little different, maybe be a little more eye-catchy. We're going to set up some breadcrumbs on the top as well. And we're going to go to 3-footer column layout so that we have 3 different columns there because that's what we've mostly been setting this up. So for this here, mainly we're going to leave the rest of it different, but you can of course set up anything you want. We're just trying to set this up something we think looks best and just quickly give you an idea of what's going through. I really can't stress that enough, as you can tell here. But it is personally your preference. We're just trying to give you a heads up and a nice start towards this. So now we're going to go into the topography. Now topography, as you can tell with maps, is the layout of it, how it actually looks. So that's what we're going into here. Now the first section here is what kind of a language or what kind of font you're using. So you can set up different things. Most safe one here, we're going to set it up as Arial. It's kind of the safest that most browsers are going to find, and it says here the default one is Arial itself. So it's a good way to go to make sure it sets up. Now you can also, of course, set up the links however you want. You can even set up an actual number you want. In this case here, we've actually got a number. You can go to the color palette and actually select one, and it'll go through and change it for you. So you can just kind of go through here, and you can see it's going to add a number, and you can even just set it there. It's going to go through and add it yourself. We've actually got some numbers we've set up, so we're just going to go ahead and type those in. If you have any hex codes you normally work with, which is what these numbers are, you can go through and add them yourself, but it's really, you can play with it, get something that looks there. Nothing is set in stone, so you can always go through and add this in later. So there's really no downside to just kind of playing around with it and looking what it looks like. So I mean, it's really good, easy to do. So now that we got that there, we're going to go through and we're going to select a couple of these other things here. So we're going to set this up. We're going to use this for all the fonts here, for the heading as well. The headings, we're going to change this to a little different here. We're going to have this as Sensation. We're going to then have the title font as just Arial again. And then the font style, we're going to have just normal. We don't want this italic. And the font weight, we're going to have this bold. So this way you've made your title, your heading, and everything look a little different from each other to try and be a little more eye-catching. That's really what you're mainly set up here. You can set up all the colors and everything here. We're actually going to leave these a little alone here just because we're going to leave it the way it is. But again, feel free to go through and play with this and get whichever ones you want. We're next going to go to where it says Home Slider, and some of you are going to say right away, what the heck's a Home Slider? Because I mean, it's a term some of you may not have come across. The home slider is actually a slideshow that's going to be set up at the top here, something our layout does, maybe your layout does as well. And it's something that's really nice and looks very professional on a site, because you'll have a bunch of images going across and you can always set up the images itself. So you can select what kind of options here you want. We're going to select just the top here. Would you like to have the nibble slider? That's one we're going to set up. You can ask you for display time. We're just going to leave this at the default. We're going to set most of these here and just leave them. The only difference here we're going to do is instead of slice down, we're going to set this as fade just because we think it looks a little nicer. But again, it's play with the different settings, find one that works best for you. There's no real problem with that. And then it's going to ask you for what you want to hear. We're going to go for choose your own slides because we've got a couple images. So we're going to go through and set those up now. So we're going to go back into our images, and we can see we're going for slider. We set this up. So there's our slider image 1, sets it up for us. You can set up different titles, different descriptions for this. For the most part, we're actually going to leave these blank just because we're setting up some quick, easy images for you to see. So nothing really difficult, nothing really out of the way here. So for this here, we're just going to go through and do the other images. And one more image to go. And you can see here, even as it's loading, you can go through and keep doing them. So if you have maybe a slower connection or you're having some issues with your connectivity, just go through and nail them all out, and they'll eventually load in, so not to worry. And then you can click on where it says Save Changes, and bang, it's going to save all the changes we've done here. So as you can see here now, we've covered through all the different options for the theme. Again, you can set up any kind of descriptions or go beyond what we've set up. This is just what we think looks a little nicer here, and with our theme, your theme may look very different. So make sure you do play around with it. Make sure you are checking viewing a bit here. We know already what this is going to look out because we've been working with this before, but you do want to go back from time to time as you're making changes to it and actually viewing what it looks like for those people who prefer to actually guess or visualize what it looks like. So the next thing we're going to be doing here, now that we've gone through and we've played through most of the outline here, is going to be going through and doing the widgets. Now again, like I said before, a lot of people are going to be saying, what the heck's a widget? Now that's a fair question for those of you who have never used WordPress, and as those of you who can see on my screen here or have gone to widgets already under appearance, there's a lot of things on the screen that make no sense to you. Now what the widgets are is these are basically extra menus or extra things that can be clicked on within the actual different sections of the site. Now as you can see here, there's a mass amount of widgets here that do a whole bunch of different things. So you can set these up however you want. There's a million of them. There's no real right or wrong way to do, but there are some that look a little different, and you can really set them up however you want. Now you can see here on the side, it's got a primary area, footer area, contact area, pages, home. It's got available widgets. These are different things you can set up here and get it going. So you do want to make sure that you set these all up properly so that they are nicer looking. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to go through and kind of set these up under what they are. So So under here, we're going to see that there's search. That's okay. That's something you do want to have in there. We're actually going to get rid of where it says recent posts just because we don't really want the recent posts in there. We're actually going to switch this to where it says BB recent posts, because this is a little bit of a better option here. And you can select on what you want to set this up here. Whether you want this as last title or anything else beyond this. And I mean, really, it's up to you how you want to do this. And we're just kind of going through and we're trying to set this up what works best and easiest for you. But again, you can really, there's no right or wrong way for this. And you can always go in and you can set these up later on as you're going through. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set this up to just, it says latest post right now. We're going to be setting this up to latest news because that's what we want to set up here. Okay, and as you can see here, you can select specific categories. We're going to select news because we set that up. And as you can see here, it's already telling, okay, there's 3 posts to show. So you're going to go to where it says save, and we've got that in there. So now we've got that here, we're going to go to where it says recent comments, and we're going to go through and say, okay, we don't really want this here. It doesn't look very nice. We're going to get rid of that. Archives, we definitely don't want. Categories, we're actually going to leave on here because it's a good thing to do. Meta, we're going to remove as well just because it doesn't really look that nice. One thing we're going to be adding on here is you can add on different ones from what you've seen here. We're actually going to go to where it says contact form. I'm going to be adding that as well here. We're going to just get that on the bottom here. It's going to ask us what type of contact form. So as you can see here, there's no contact form just set up. So we're going to be going through and doing that as well. And we're going to be setting up the contact form in a bit here. So we're just going to leave this blank. We're going to put a name for it right now though. And we're just going to say join our mailing list because we're actually going to be setting up a mailing list in a sec here. And as you can see here, it's got contact form below, so you can just choose that in there later. We're just going to save this as it is right now. And we're going to be adding that in a little bit later because we're mostly just trying to get these set up. So now we've got these here. These are our basic ones set up. I mean, you can really put anything you want. We're going to put archive in here just to show you that you can get one back in. But again, it's really up to you. There's no right or wrong way. You can always get them set up any kind of way you want. So now we got that done here. We can go ahead and we can type in a title for the archives. You can really change anything you want, or you're just going to leave this just as a default one. We're going to switch it to display as a drop down though, just so it's not cluttering your screen. But again, you can really put this as anything you want. Search, you can go in and change the search if you want. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start playing with the other area, because as you can see here, most of these are also blank. So we're going to start off here with the footer area, and in here we're going to go ahead and we're going to type in text section here. Actually, we're going to go to text. As you can see here, it's just got a random section. We're just going to put about us. So this here, you can put in anything you want. I mean, generally speaking, this is going to be in the bottom, so you can put in something about your business. In this case here, we're just going to put in our nice little Latin chunk again, just to have it show up and just so you guys can see what it is. You can all have it automatically add paragraphs. We're actually not going to worry about that here. But I mean, it is something you can set up if you want. You can see the difference of it here. I mean, it's going to try to split this up. In this case, probably because it's going to be look nicer for you guys, we're actually going to set this up instead. But again, it's up to you. It's going to try and add default comments. After you set that up, you just want to make sure you minimize that so you can see other things here as well. Now we're going to go through and we're going to add a couple others here into the footer section. Now you can see here there's a bunch of other bulletin board little things here. We're going to go to where it says, for this one here, we're going to put in the recent posts again, just because we like it in there, and there's really no reason why it can't be multiple places. So put that underneath, and we're going to again go to latest news again, just like we did before, and we're going to have it showing here. So we're going to go to where it says save, and once we've gone there, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to put in another text section here, and we're just going to close this out here and go to where it says text, get this set up. And this one here, we're actually going to have to our contact us. And what this is basically going to be a quick little link to our contact page. You can really set this up as anything you want. Now for this one here, you can also have any kind of other things such as like your contact information. In this case here, just to keep it simple, we're actually just going to put in our address just to have you see here what it's like. So now we've got that set up here. We're again just going to save this after going to add paragraph or not. And we're going to go to save, got that set up, and there we go. So that's got our bottom here. Next we've got our contact area, and we've got our other sections here. You can, again, you may have different ones depending on how you've set up your actual layout. So within the contact us here, what we're going to do is we're going to put in a little bit of text. Again, we're going to put the about us. As you can see here, some of these are kind of repetitive, but for the most part, we're trying to put these in specific formats here. Get that in, put another paragraph, and you're really going to be able to put anything you want. We're putting another contact form here. And these are different sections on different pages. So you do want to make sure they are in there. The contact form, we're going to say, again, just join our mailing list. And then the contact form, we're again going to set up here in a bit. And now that we got that done, we're going to go down to our pages section. And in here, we quickly got a couple others here. We've got our BB recent post, just like last time. So we're just going to add latest news again, set it down to news, have it saved that, minimize that again. You can leave them all open if you want. I would highly suggest not doing it and actually kind of minimize them as you go through, because otherwise you're going to find very quickly that it fills up a lot of space that doesn't necessarily need to be filled up and is definitely going to complicate things here for you. So what we want to do here is we're just going to go ahead and add our contact form again, because we do want that on pretty much any page because we want people to be contacting us. So join our mailing list, save. And then what we're going to be doing is our last section here, which is our home section. So what we're going to be doing here is we're actually going to just leave it blank this page because we don't want any widgets on our home page. But again, you're free to add in any others here. So you can see there's a lot of different widgets to do. We didn't use all of them here. Some of them, like the custom memory, menu, calendar, shortcode, ultimate. You can set in a lot of different things here, and there's a lot of customization. Do play with it. Do set this up. Again, there's no real right or wrong way to set this up, and you are free to kind of go through and do however you want. So what we're going to do here now is, before, as you can see here, we did have the contact form, which we hadn't added yet. So we're going to go through and we're going to add that here. And as you can see on the left hand side under the dashboard, there's contact forms. So we're going to go to contact form first of all, just to make sure there's nothing default in there. And then we're going to go to where it says add new. I'm going to be setting this up here. So now that we've gone through and we've gone to the contact forms, we're going to add new. We're going to wait for that to load up here, and there we go. So you're going to see the same kind of form editor we had before. Very simple, very easy to use. So you can put in the same contact forms as before. You can use a different form. So we're just going to quickly put in, again, first name, similar to last time. Fields required, add new. We're going to call this last name. And you can even set it to the same shortcode as last time if you wanted. It's, again, completely up to you. We're just trying to set this up as similar and just kind of get something quick and easy up there. And then we're going to go email address. And we're going to set up the validation again. And we're going to leave it there this time because we don't really need the extra one. It's going to ask you to put in a one here. We're going to actually just type in mailing list because that's the one we want again. This is ideally going to be receiving emails so that you've got some script in the background that's going to be adding these to a mailing list for you so that you can send them all the goodies about your products or any other services. Make sure you've got that default one out here. But again, you can set this up however you want. Now, one thing that is very important here to do is that when you go through and set this up, you make sure to publish it so that it is actually visible and it is set up. Otherwise, the contact form is not going to be showing up on the page. Now that we've got that here, what we can do is we can go back into the appearance and we can go back into the widgets. And because we set this up here with a bunch of mailing lists before, they had nothing there. As you can see, it's actually already put in the mailing list under the list here. You just want to go through and save it just to be safe, just to make sure it is updating it actually properly. It doesn't necessarily have to. You're hoping it does, and it should, but again, better safe than sorry. It's always the bottom line here with any of this here. So you just want to make sure to go through and add it to anything that it didn't already have it there. So that's gone through and has done most of everything here. Now, we've done pretty much set up just about everything here. There's not much left to do. One thing we're going to do here is we're going to deal with one of the actual default plugins that comes with every WordPress, which is called Ask-A-Mint. Now, a lot of people have probably seen this and wondered what it is. Now, what Ask-A-Mint is this is basically an actual plugin that verifies that when someone's adding a comment or content to your site, that's actually proper content. So someone's not trying to fill it with spam or trying to put in some kind of code injection to do bad things to your site. So it is very good to set it up, and you do want to definitely do it here. And it's going to ask you to set up and get a key for this here, which is going to say here, go through and do it. So you do need to actually go through and do the steps. So you do want to make sure to go through and set it up here. So it's asking you, have you already got this? Do you have the setup? So this is where you go ahead and get this here. It's going to ask you for a key. You just go ahead and click on this. And what this is mainly trying to prevent any kind of spam. So you can say like a personal blog here is just, you can see is $0 or whatever. And if you're doing a business one, you may need to pay for this, as you can see here. And we're just going to quickly go to sign up. It's going to force you to sign up here. It's going to give you something here. You can set this to anything you want. So you can see it defaults at $36 and asking for a contribution here. We're going to set it for 0 just for a default one. We're actually not going to go through the full process of setting this up here just because it does take a little bit of time and you do need to make sure everything gets back. But you do want to make sure to set this up. It is very, very important. And what it's going to do is it's going to check through your content and any kind of comments people leave to make sure there's no spam and other things. It is very nice to set up, and then you're going to go through and activate it. It's going to ask you for the key. You're just going to add it in there. But that, for the most part, is how you're going to set this up. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to actually show you kind of what we've been setting up so far. So we're going to go through and visit the site. As we go through and visit the site here, you can see there's a bunch of content set up. As you can see here, there's what we've got set up for the slider. The slider's here. It goes through and you can see it slides through. It's got the contacts, got the about us, the news, got a couple pictures here. In this case here, we haven't linked those in yet, so that's fine. But this is, for the most part, kind of what we've been showing you everything so far. And it's got the news, again, we've got the pictures. We haven't put up some of the link pictures, as you can see here, but you can set up any kind of pictures you want. As you can see here, we've got the extra menu with the services, and we've got the contact us as well, so it goes to our contact page. It's even got the Google map already set up. You can see it's got our join our mailing list, about us. So what we're going to do here now is, this is, like we said, just a basic page we were setting up, and we were kind of showing you the main thing of all of it here, which is you can go through and do anything you need. And you can see here, it's got all our services, got everything set up. You can go to these ones here. Now what we're going to show here is we're going to show you one that we've actually spent a little bit more time on to set up and make it look a little more professional. And this is, again, nothing outside of what we've actually showed you already. This is just us going through and actually putting in a little more time, playing with the layout, getting things a little more set up. There's no need to go this far if you don't want to. You may even do less than what we've already done. It is up to you. We just want to show you kind of a symptom of beyond what we've already done to what it can actually look like once you've got kind of it all finished here. So as you can see here, it's basically the same format of everything we've set up. The only difference here is we've got a little bit more pictures that are set up because we didn't set up as many pictures last time. We can see here that the slideshow is moving along for us here. We can click on these pictures and it'll actually go through and take us to the pages. You can leave comments. You can do anything you want. You can subscribe to the mailing list. You can go through and select, okay, I want to have sample news. Go through here, go to the different newses. You can see the services, works the same as before. The menu's all set up. You can go to the news again, just where we went to when we defaulted. You've got the about page here set up as well, and you've got the contact page. So everything we set up here and showed you to set up through this video is set up here on the site. You can see the one we set up before when we were showing you our finished product pretty much has the exact same content on it. All we did here was just add a couple more pictures in and just add different text to make it a little different looking. But it is very simple, very easy to, as you can see here from the site setup. It doesn't take that long of a time. If you are new to WordPress, it may take a little more time just to get used to everything. As you can see here, sometimes you run into a couple hiccups with some of the server synchronization, like when we were trying to access the WordPress site, didn't want to fully connect, so we went and downloaded the thing ourselves indirectly. You may need to do that. You may need to, if you find it's a little much at once, maybe save what you're doing, take a break, come back. There's no harm in that. I mean, we have this video here for us. You can easily pause it, take a tea break, or come back. Not really a problem. If you find anything that's kind of maybe lacking, or you need some help, or you're having trouble with something, I mean, there is a lot of documentation online. That's the one thing that's great about WordPress, is there's a lot to it. Very simple, very easy to use, very well documented online. If you just type something into Google, like a problem with it, 9 times out of 10, you're going to find at least a handful of useful articles because someone's had that problem and someone's been there to answer it for them. If you really come down to it, or say you're encountering some weird errors, you can always contact us. We'll take a look at it, see if we can find out. If it turns out to be something with a specific plugin or something, we may not be able to help you with it, but we can at least point you where to go and kind of find out, isolate what's going on with it. So you can go to the developer and say, hey, I've got a problem with this. The developers are going to be there for any kind of theme or plugin problems. So it's really, there's a lot of support out there. It's very easy to set up a site. We're going to show you how to set up some other sites later on. We're actually working on a photography site, which we're going to be demoing next time, and showing you how to set up different sites. So WordPress does have a lot of functionality to it, does have a lot to do with it. You can see here that you can set it up, make it look a little different than other people's. Make it look fairly professional. And I mean, you can always take more time to make it look more so. You can find a more complex theme. You can even do a paid theme, which is going to have a lot more scripts to it. You can always continuously have it as a working project. So it keeps on adding to it, keep on working to it. There's no real right or wrong way to do it. And bottom line is, it's your site. So do what you think looks best. Do what you think looks great and what you think is going to sell, because that's really what the bottom line is, what you think is the best site for you, because there's really no one else can, although people can actually tell you, okay, I don't think this site looks good, or it's not one here. If you don't like the site, you're probably not going to work on it as much. It's probably going to be a little underkept. So do try and make sure that it is something you do like. Do keep on working with it. It's something you may have fun with, something you may find a little frustrating, but we are here to help at the end of the day if you do find something too complex. So if you do have any problems, contact us. You can leave comments as well if you find there's a section of WordPress you maybe need more help with, or maybe think a video tutorial will be helpful, and we'll definitely look through those. We'll try to answer any comments or any questions. If there's any requests for a lot of requests for a video, we may end up making another one here for you, so don't hesitate to leave them in here. You can contact us on our Facebook page, leave comments there as well, or you can contact our support. I mean, we're really here to help you if you need it. But otherwise, you've now been able to set up a fairly simple site. It looks fairly professional. It's going to look a lot more professional if you spend a lot more time with it. But this we've shown you how to do that. If you have any other questions, definitely leave them in comments. If you need any help, contact the support. But otherwise, that's what we've got here. Thank you for contacting Doteasy and watching our video, and we'll be bringing more to you. This is Graham. Thank you.